So how do I get started with, a permaculture garden? Let's start with a garden because, as I said before, permaculture isn't just about gardening, it isn't just about food, but that's a pretty big, chunk of it. So in our gardens, if you've got a farm, we can just scale this up, but let's just start with a garden. So we've got to understand that there's a number of different elements that work harmoniously if we put them in such an order. So we're thinking about, it's a holistic way of thinking, right? We're trying to think of all the major elements, and we can make lists. We can try to list down what are the things that we want to grow is a great way to start. So you think, okay, if you've got to determine what is your climate and what plants will grow in that particular climate, because you may love bananas, but if you take them to a place where there's a frost, the banana plant won't survive the frost. So it's not appropriate to your particular climate. So let's just think about which plants grow in your climate, make a list of them, and then you can actually do a bit more research, excuse me, and try to figure out whether certain plants will be happy with another plant as a neighbor. It's called companion planting, and you just go onto Google, put in companion planting, and you'll see the plants that are recommended to be next to each other, which ones don't like being next to each other, and which ones are neutral. Most of them are neutral. But we can then create these guilds where we actually can putting a number of different species together, and they act like a team. So they're very beneficial. So you actually increase your yield by putting certain things together. And think about when you've got the sun is going to be the major energy source. So if you've got let's say a plant here which is tall, and then you put a smaller one behind it, and the sun's this way, this one's is going to shade out this one. It may be okay. If this plant likes shade, great, it's in the right place. But if it needs a lot of sun, it's in totally the wrong place. So we've got to think about all these factors. We've got to do a lot of observation. So we're actually going to try to understand what are all the animals that are going to be coming into our system. You may have animals that you actually need to exclude, and we need to think about that as well. You're probably going to have things like birds. So do you need to protect things like berries? You may need to use nets during the harvest season. It would be nice to think that some of the berries could be given to the birds, but you obviously don't want to have all of your harvest taken. I know a little trick for strawberries I heard about. So you get some stones and you paint them red. So you put them in your strawberry patch, and let's say you have crows that might come down and start pecking at these strawberries, but they're not strawberries, they're stones, right? So bang, bang, bang. It does it a couple of times, and okay, I don't like that. It hits my head. So when your strawberries come, the crow says, oh, more of those bloody hard stones. He's not interested in the strawberries because he just thinks it's going to hurt his beak when he goes and pecks them. Okay, so we can actually use simple solutions to overcome some of our pest problems. As I said before, we need to think about habitat. Very easy, right? So if we have two things which are going to make a huge difference to the biodiversity in your garden, a pond, okay, so a pond, an aquatic system, you can have aquatic plants growing in there, you're going to have frogs in there, you're going to have potentially things like dragonflies, and have all kinds of beneficial organisms, because these guys eat insects. Frogs, dragonflies, they're big feeders on insects. So the insects that would potentially be a pest problem in your garden, their numbers are going to be regulated because there's a predator there. Okay, so it's always important that we create habitat to give us the balance that we need. We're okay to lose a little bit of our produce. What we don't want is to lose all of it, of course. Okay, so we understand that we're living in harmony, but we need to understand what is that harmony, how will we get that point of harmony, because often at the moment where you start, the systems are so out of sync that you're going to have a pest problem. So you need to create a harmonious solution, a harmonious system. So the other one that I really recommend to you is just a pile of twigs or logs, and those logs, again, they're going to create habitat, places where other organisms can hide. So these are the two easy ones, right? A small pond or a big pond, whatever you prefer, and a place of logs. You can go into another step of creating an insect hotel. So again, you can make it or you can buy it, and basically there's different sizes of holes, etc. So little insects can hide there, and that's just going to bring more biodiversity into your garden. Okay, you're creating a kind of a little wildlife sanctuary as well. The benefit is that you're going to have all the pollinators as well. If you don't have pollinators, so you're going to need flowers. Yeah, a garden without flowers is not going to attract pollinators. Pollinators are so important. Why are we so concerned about our bee populations falling? Because they do such amazing work for us. If we didn't have bees on this planet, we would not be here, quite simply. So, when we hear in the news about bee population collapses, we need to be concerned. And we need to, if possible, be creating habitat for those bees and certainly providing food for them in the sense of flowers. I talk about bees. Here in the tropics, we've got hummingbirds. Okay, so there's other kinds of pollinators, there's butterflies, moths. Okay, there's different plants have adapted to work with certain pollinators. But they're you don't want to be going there from flower to flower doing this, getting the reproduction done from different plants. You're not going to have time to do that. So we need to think about the individual systems and how they work together. And you can do this. You can do this with simple observation and making notes. And I'm going to teach you how to do it.